Hello friends, welcome to another episode of Killingly Public Library's craft video series. Today we're going to be making a cute little scarecrow, and he's just made with some scrap things I had laying around. Some scrap denim from some old holy pair of jeans, some leftover fabric, some burlap, some twine, and some K-cups. You could be fortunate enough to perhaps buy a little straw hat for your scarecrow, and it would be okay if you have one and you want to use it. But I liked creating the hat myself because it gave it a brim. I liked the big uh, billowy brim. So let us start with our denim. I have a 6.5 inch piece of denim here, and I just traced something that I had. I don't even remember what it was now. It was circle shaped, and it wasn't quite 6.5 inches. It was only 5.5, but I just went and cut a little extra around the edge of the circle, and it gave me I didn't cut on my traced line, and it gave me the size I needed. So just a thought, if you can't find something that's quite your 6.5 inches. So we'll take our K-cup and put it in the center of our circle, and we're going to put glue around the edge, and you can even put glue on the inside as you're working, and do a little at a time. We're going to bring the denim up and over the edge all around to just kind of cover it, and it'll look like a pair of pants when we're done, don't worry. But if your K-cup is in the middle, then you shouldn't have any trouble folding it all up. You can see I've started it a little bit here. I found it easy for myself to work from opposite sides first, do one side, then go and do the opposite side to help keep the K-cup from shifting and moving too much. And then now I can work from my other sides and bring all the excess kind of in. And if you need to, you can even glue in your folds a little to help tack them down. There you can see I've covered my K-cup. I've got some glue strands still flying around, but you can see that it's a little bulky and chunky at the top, the lip where I'm folding over and gluing. But I do find it was easier to use a little bit larger piece of the denim than I used for the fabric, just because it didn't seem to it was harder to stretch and play with and work with than the cloth. So I went with a little extra, but if you think you can handle a smaller piece of denim to stretch and pull it and get it in there, then so be it, go for it. So we're just going to put our denim piece aside for now, and we'll take another K-cup and we'll do the same thing, and we'll cover it with some kind of scrap fabric that you have. You can see I used two different ones, but they both had kind of a red base to them. I kind of liked the red with the denim, but maybe you want to go with a different color. Even though my favorite color is purple, I thought the red with the denim was very striking and quite a nice contrast. And we're just going to put this again in the middle of our circle and glue a little bit and pull the edges over and adhere them. And there you can see I've glued my red fabric onto my K-cup. And I'm just going to glue the two edges together, so kind of fiddle and play with it as best you can, because some of the spots are they're not going to match up perfectly. because of the bulkiness of the fabric and kind of tucking it over. But you're just gonna kind of get it as good as you can and kind of push them together and try to have as few gaps as possible. And it's okay if there's a little, because you know you can have it in the back and who's gonna see it. So just put your glue on the rim. Try not to make it too messy, but it's kind of hard not to get it everywhere. There, my two pieces are glued together. You can see a little gap here. That seems to be the only one, but it's not very noticeable. And what I had done in this one was I just tied a little bit of twine on to make a little belt. You could even braid some twine together if you needed it to cover more, especially if your glue got real messy, then just one little bit of twine might not be enough to cover it. But that's what we're going to do next. We're going to cut a little piece of twine off and stick it there. Looks like it could be maybe 10 inches or so. And I'm going to try to be very careful not to use too much glue and make it too sloppy. So I've glued my twine on and I knotted it because he's got to hold his pants up, and I'm just going to snip a little off. I've got a little more than I really need, and there we go. Now we're going to make the arms. So this is what's left of my scrap of fabric after I made my circle, and I'm just going to fold it in half here and make like a rectangle. Make it a, you know, just get rid of these rounded edges. This was nothing that I did measuring. I just, you know, just used the excess scrap. So I have my rectangle. If I fold it in half and just cut here, I'll have two pieces that are about the same size. Voila, two pieces about the same size. Now I'm going to take and roll it up kind of jelly roll style to make the arms. And if you wanted big puffy arms, you could, you know, stick something in there to give it a little more dimension, maybe some stuffing or some of the raffia. I did stick a little raffia out the bottom for the hands, but if you wanted the arm itself to be more bunch, you know, just a little more fuller, you know, think about that. But I'm just going to run a little glue here and just roll it and roll it and roll it till it's, you know, just the whole piece. And I'll do both squares. So I just ran a little glue there, folded that edge over, and now I can roll it all the way to the other end. And when I get here, I'm going to run a strip of glue again now and then put it together. Okay, there's my arm. And I'm going to take a little bit of raffia here and give the Scarecrow some hands. I just have a little piece. I'm folding it over on itself a bunch of times. And then I can just put a little glue on it and stick it in the sleeve here. And then I can trim his fingers up. Okay, so I've shoved the raffia in there. I dabbed a little glue inside, then I pushed the raffia in, and now I'm just going to take my scissors and kind of snip it, because, you know, the raffia was folded over a bunch of times so they weren't loose strands. And if you had loose strands, you could do that as well. But the piece I grabbed, and that's what I did with it, and it worked for me. And so now I have a bunch of loose little strands here all glued in there, and it makes a great little hand. There's his hand. And all I did to make his arm was I folded it over like so and glued it to the side of him. So just take a little bit, it's, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch or so, and just glue it, fold it down and glue it up against his body on his side. And if you want to wait till you have both arms done so that you can make sure you fold them the same, you certainly can do that. I'm just gonna put it on there. Okay, I folded it over, and I'm just going to dab a little glue on the piece of the fold that glued to the body so it holds the arm down a little more at his side. I mean, unless you want your Scarecrow to be with the arms out like a typical Scarecrow does out in the field, you could certainly leave it. I just want mine down a little more. So I'm just dabbing a little glue there. And there, his arms down by his side. And if that's still too much for you, you could dab even some more glue and dab it closer. But I thought that was fine. So now let's, I'll go ahead and do the other arm, and it'll be done the same way, and I'll just catch you up when it's complete. Now we want to work on his head. And so one thing I thought I would just do was use some markers. I have an orange and a black Sharpie. If you don't have an orange and a black Sharpie, you could certainly cut little pieces of felt or cloth. Maybe a crayon would work. I'm not sure. But one thing I do know is you need to take a little sandpaper and just scuff up the area that you're going to draw on. Paint maybe even too, if you had paint at home, some black and orange paint, or you could just use plain black. You don't have to use orange. I just liked, I gave mine a little orange nose, but you can give your Scarecrow whatever face you'd like, but just scuff it up a little with your sandpaper so whatever you do decide to do will adhere. If you're just gluing on felt or any cloth or even paper, you don't really need to scuff it up. But if you're painting or drawing on it with a marker, the surface has to be rough for it to adhere. Otherwise, it's just going to wipe right off, even using the permanent markers. And I think I've scuffed him up pretty good. So I doubt you can see it. It's not a lot. I mean, you saw me rubbing it. It wasn't very much at all. And then just decide what kind of face you're going to give your Scarecrow. I'm going to draw mine on. So give me a minute and I'll catch you back. Okay, my face is done. Maybe not the greatest face, but that's what you get. And so when you do draw the face on, you're drawing the bottom of the cup is going to be sitting on the body. So you do want to make the face that way. The opening is at the top for the hat. And now you can glue on your head to the body. Just make sure that your face is facing where your belt is. You wouldn't want him to have his pants on backwards. There, his head's all glued on tight. Now we're going to work on the hat. And what I did for the hat was I traced a jar lid and got myself a 3.5-inch circle of burlap. And if you want less of a brim, you could use a smaller piece, but I liked the wider, floppier brim. And we are going to take a bottle cap. This just came, I think, from a bottle of kombucha. And we're just going to glue it onto the center of our burlap circle. And when you're gluing it, be careful because the burlap, it has the holes, so the glue does ooze through. So if you're gluing it on some surface, it could potentially just glue itself to the surface. So I have a piece of cardboard down to protect my table while I'm gluing and working, and I made sure to pick this up and not glue it to the cardboard. So there we have our hat. Now we're going to take some twine, and you're just going to start at the middle and just kind of swirl it around and around, kind of like those big swirly lollipops, right? We're just going to start, we'll put a little glue in the center, and it's just going to keep rolling around and around itself like a snail shell, maybe another example. Something like this. Just keep turning it around and around, but you're going to do it on the lid, and just dab a little glue here or there as you're working, so you'll have something like that. And I'll start it and give you a little peek. Can you see it now, how I've started it? I'm just going to completely go around the top and then work my way around and down the sides of the cap as well. I'll let you see it when I'm done. Here, I've completely covered the top of the cap, and now I'm going to work my way down the sides. There, my hat is done. Isn't that cute? And it didn't really cost anything, just some scrap stuff I had laying around. And it looks pretty authentic, not too bad. You could try other fabric, something that's stiff and not too floppy, like the cotton red would be too floppy, but the burlap has a little stiffness to it. Maybe use some extra denim, maybe give them a denim hat, whatever, maybe some felt, things like that. Maybe you don't have any twine, you could use some yarn or string, or you could even just cover it, the cap, like we did the K-cups with, say, felt, and then glue it onto a piece of felt. So a few options maybe from things that you are able to work with. So just take some of your raffia and glue it in a few spots here or there, and we can give our little guy some hair. You could go around his whole head if you want to, but I'm just going to have it sticking out in a few spots. And just take and decide how long you would like it to be. You can just kind of back and forth fold your piece like so, and then you can just glue one hunk down and then snip just like we did the hands, or you could glue the individual pieces down. It is totally up to you. So there, I've just glued a little bit onto his head, and I'm just going to snip with the scissors all the little loops that I had. And so now he's got some hair, and I didn't have to glue all the individual pieces on. Just kind of just there. And I'm going to do the other side, give him a little hair on that side too. So I guess a better way to explain what I'm doing for the raffia might be that I'm wrapping it around a few fingers a few times, and then just sliding it off my fingers and gluing the gathered ends in place. I guess that might be a better way to explain how I'm doing what I'm doing. So there, my Scarecrow's got some hair, and now we'll just glue some glue on the rim and place his hat on his head. There, isn't he a cute little fall decoration? I can't wait to see your finished projects. Please submit them to info@killinglypl.org, and I'll catch you in another one of our craft videos. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.